Today, we are talking The Traitors US Season 3, Episode 5. For anyone who hasn't watched the show, there are massive spoilers ahead. In today's episode, what do you call a faithful that catches no traitors and banishes only faithfuls? The Traitors UK Season 3 winner, which we will touch on very, very quickly. We feel the blowback from the epic battle between Rob and Bob. And speaking of breakdowns, we break down Danielle's breakdown. So if you've missed the episodes, you can catch all the action on your local streaming services. The Traitors US Season 3, Episode 5, breakdown coming up.
So, you've probably noticed we are in a different place than our usual environment. We are coming to you live and direct from Singapore. We're visiting our family.
For Chinese New Year.
So, Happy New Year, Clean Fuck Joy. Things are going to be a little bit different. We don't have all of our equipment, but we're going to try and do our best to get through this and to give you guys a little bit of entertainment, hopefully.
Yeah,
so,
and there might maybe be a few glitches or something, or but just bear with us. We're doing the best we can.
We're doing the best we can. Yeah, well said. So we can't do this episode without talking first about the UK finale. OMG.
Yeah,
I'm still shell-shocked. Like, we just watched it last night before we saw the US one, and I was livid. I was so livid about the result. I was triggered. How did you feel about how things went?
I think I didn't love who the winners were. Okay, so for anyone who hasn't watched the UK season, maybe you might want to skip for the next 5 minutes. We're just going to touch on this very quickly, just because it has just ended. But if you haven't watched it and you don't want to know who won, skip ahead.
Mm-hmm.
So for anyone who doesn't who's actually watched it, so Leanne and Jake won. I wasn't particularly satisfied, I guess, with Leanne's win. I think maybe with Jake, I felt like he was maybe a little bit more deserving because he had actually, I think he had great success with catching Linda as a traitor.
Yeah.
But whereas with Leanne, I kind of I don't know, I didn't love the approach she had. I think, with the way she kind of interacted with Alexander, who I felt was actually a very good faithful. He had actually raised some really good points. He was very logical. Whereas Leanne, I kind of felt she was just all over the place, a little bit emotional and kind of using it, as, as manipulation.
Yeah, for sure. I think she is a little bit of an undeserved winner. And I think because you want, in these reality game shows, the best player to be rewarded. Do you know what I mean? Good gameplay to be rewarded. So if you're a faithful, you want to see someone that catches the traitors. If you're a traitor, you want to see someone that outsmarts the faithfuls. I would have been satisfied with a Charlotte win or a Jake win, even an Alexander win. But the way Leanne went about her dealings around the round table was just so passive-aggressive, borderline hostile, rude, triggering, that I found myself really upset about the way she turned things on people. She would, and Alexander is such a gentleman, such a sweet man, and he would say,
there's a reason he was like a former diplomat.
Yeah, and he would say, I'm sorry to say your name, but I think you could be a traitor, And she would do the same thing back at him, but in a hostile way, go figures, and attack other people for the same thing she's doing, without realizing the hypocrisy of her own words.
Yeah.
And I found that really upsetting, because to anyone that's been in a social situation where you can't quite express yourself, or you're up against someone who's louder, more dominant, more brash, doesn't hear your words, it's extremely frustrating.
And more popular too.
Look, you can't, she's a beautiful, confident, outspoken woman. And society tends to give those people a little bit more attention. Do you know what I mean? And she has a confidence through a lifetime of being heard, And so that's why I think, people were a bit like, she's just getting away with this awful behavior over other faithfuls.
I think maybe more so that, the behavior was... it was a little bit cringy, I think, watching it.
Yeah.
It feels very much like we're back in high school.
Yeah.
Very kind of mean girls behavior. against someone who's like maybe less popular, who is actually like smarter.
And how about the whole Francesca thing, right? Like people have commented that Francesca played a really good faithful game. She did everything right out of, you almost felt sorry for her, out of that seer reveal.
Yeah. So did you, because I think I was a little bit surprised because I kind of thought that she believed Frankie. Did you feel that she didn't?
I think she did. I go back and forth. I think Leanne is hyper emotional, goes back and forth, goes with the wind, not with logic. You saw her, oh, what do I do? What do I do? Now looking back on it, I think part of her maybe just did it to make more money.
You felt that? Okay,
yeah,
right.
Because, look, when Francesca swore on her children, that is such a powerful statement that is never made lightly. You know, as a mother, as a parent, you would never swear on your children.
Yeah. I know, like, say in the US version, we have, like, Bob the drag queen swearing on God, but then he doesn't, like, actually believe in God. Yeah.
If he were to swear on children, he'd then say, look, but I don't have children. But Leanne and Francesca, mother to mother, I thought that was a genuine moment of trust and understanding.
Yeah.
And for her to go with Jake in that moment, I was surprised. And my only rationale was she wants more money. And then what was more upsetting is that she felt no regret or remorse after that.
Yeah, I think so. Okay, for me, I'm going to have a contrary opinion. I don't actually think that she maybe wants more money. I mean, that could be a possibility, but I didn't feel that for her.
Okay.
What I did felt a little bit pissed off was that she didn't seem remorseful about the fact that, oh, Alexander is a faithful when she found out. Frankie is faithful when she found out. Like, it would have been nice if she's like, oh, like actually felt bad that, I've actually voted them out. I mean, we saw that Jake actually had, he's like, oh yeah, like I feel bad that, those two got, a little bit of introspection, but whereas she was just like, oh yeah, I've won, and it, like, as if like that's it. Maybe she did actually have a take where, but the show didn't show it, but I kind of like felt there was a little bit of like a disconnect, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I think social media has picked up on that. And I'm sorry to say, social media is the great equalizer in the world. She may have won this challenge, but wow, social media, for all the popularity she may have thought and money she may have thought she's gained, social media has been so cruel from what I've checked out in the last day or two.
Yeah, they haven't been great. I think it's probably been maybe similar to what we felt, was that maybe...
as much as I don't like Leanne as a winner, as a person, she is a person, and I didn't like the gameplay, but that doesn't mean that anyone deserves the bullying that she is getting.
Yeah, and I don't think she is she's not a bad person. No. I think she actually is probably very nice, but just the way she goes about conflict, it can feel very intimidating if you're up against her.
Yeah.
And also, I guess the way that she handles conflict is just not great. It can become quite bullying.
Yeah. She uses, main character syndrome, every device in the book to swing favoritism her way, She'll get upset at people, use emotion, all this leverage.
Yeah, and she kind of like swings. I think her mood swings. It's like very much on like an up and down pendulum, where even when she was standing at the finale with Jake, and just because he wasn't looking her in the eye, she's like, oh my god, why are you not looking? It's a lot.
And the whole show was like this. The way she turned on Leon, the way she turned on everyone. She didn't catch a single traitor. She wasn't good to the other faithfuls. She just, I can't help but say she was a bad player. And that's your winner. That's our winner for the UK. I think, okay, let's move on from talking about her. But how can the show improve itself in the future going forward to find the best player at the end of the show?
Well, is this
just life?
Well, but this is just life. I mean, like, maybe in life, like, the people who kind of, like, win in that category maybe aren't the best players.
That's just life, yeah. Maybe that's just the way it is that we have to accept that, sometimes the beautiful, the popular, the outspoken are just going to trample over the best.
Yeah.
I'm going to jump out the window.
Well, if we think about it, I think the people who do achieve the kind of success that we typically think is successful, like an affluent lifestyle, maybe, like getting ahead in terms of like looks and everything, but sometimes they maybe kind of like lack the kind of introspection that maybe make them have like, like a deeper perspective.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, like, beauty is not,
Yeah, in terms of changes, I have always liked rewarding good gameplay. So maybe this doesn't solve the whole Leanne winning the show.
Yeah, and I think this is a social experiment.
Yeah.
We're not basing it on meritocracy. I mean, that's sports. Like, okay, whoever goes first, who runs the fastest, wins. But this isn't. This is a social experiment.
Yeah.
And whoever is, I guess, the most outspoken, maybe more social, they will come out on top in a social game. Not the person who is actually more withdrawn, not the person who is maybe more introspective or more of an introvert. I think in this case, the extrovert will come out on top. And in that case, maybe she is the deserving winner.
Oh gosh, don't say that. Okay, in terms of devices, I would only suggest that maybe there are ways to reward good faithfuls by giving them shields, because right now shields go pretty much to whoever grabs it during the challenges, right? Whoever wants it the most, or whoever can win it by throwing a dart or something. Maybe if you are able to vote out a traitor successfully, you write down their name for that round table, you get a shield. So everyone at the table that wrote the name successfully gets a shield. If that motivates maybe good gameplay and good teamwork to get out the traitor. If the whole table writes it out correctly, no one goes home for that night, and so it goes. I know it's flawed because then no one could go home or whatever, but yeah, I just think you have to find ways to give the good traders a few more tweaks to last a bit longer, so that they don't go home, so that the bad faithfuls stick around less. Because she wasn't writing anyone's name right. Maybe had the good good faithfuls been protected, she could have gone, and therefore we'd have a better winner. I don't know. But let's talk about the good players of that season before we move on, because I know we said it would be 5 minutes, and now it's been like 15. How good were Linda, Mina, and Charlotte? They were the revelations of this season, I think.
Yeah, I think I especially really liked Mina. I think she was great. So the thing with, I think, Linda and Mina, which is something that I've kind of like seen first time in this episode, was Linda was actually very perceptive. She was actually, okay with like say, okay, I know I'm on the chopping block. Mina, if you have to write my name down, I totally understand. Like I think it's like, she's a bit more elderly. She's wise. She kind of
mature.
understands, okay, like this is the game. This is what the game is. There's no point me taking it personally.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
I like that. And I think with Mina, it seems like, she very sincerely wanted to work with Charlotte, probably wasn't expecting to be stabbed in the back, because she had actually worked very well with Linda as well, so there was kind of this, sisterhood thing and we saw like all the traders, they were women.
Yeah.
Oh, except for Freddie.
Except for Freddie.
But
Sweet
Freddie,
who went home with the enviable credit of never killing anyone.
I know. I feel a bit sorry for Freddie. I think
Sweet
everyone
Freddie.
probably feels very sorry for him. Yeah.
Yeah, but great cast of ladies. They were great together. They were so entertaining. Linda understood the entertainment of it, like the theatre of it. She really jumped into it. Had fun. Yeah, overall, great season, just unfortunately.
Yeah, I think it was really unfortunate, I think, because I think it would have been great if, I think Mina would have been a really, really deserving winner.
Yeah.
Charlotte, to be honest, I didn't love the way that she had just backstabbed Mina. I know that's the game, but also the fact that she so quickly turned onto Freddie, which I felt was kind of her downfall.
Yes.
But in which case, perhaps, the saving grace of this game was that the Frankie had the seer's ability to kind of like even it out, in which case like perhaps if Charlotte hadn't actually done that to Freddie, she might actually have gotten away with it.
Ironic, hey? Yeah, I think she should have held on to Freddie another episode or two.
Just a little bit too quick to kill someone.
Too quick. Yeah, but what do you think of that seer twist, by the way? That was pretty thrilling.
Yeah, that was interesting. Yeah, I think it was definitely gripping. I think when I realized that, oh my god, is she going to pick is Frankie going to pick Alexander, or is she going to pick Charlotte? And she picked the right one, and I'm glad. Yeah, I liked it because I felt like when they had put forth in the show in the beginning that you won't know if a person is a traitor or faithful in the finale, I thought that just advantages the traitors too much. So I'm glad that they did have this twist.
Yeah. Cool. All right.
Okay. Well, shall we go ahead and talk about the US
let's do what we came
version?
to do. Okay, US. Sorry, guys. We digressed. We're back on the part. US. Okay.
So just to do a quick recap of the previous episode, which was an epic episode, which was Boston Rob versus Bob the Drag Queen. So Bob the Drag Queen obviously, you know, was banished and reviewed as a traitor. It was just the most epic traitor review. Crazy stuff. Craziest, like, drama. You know, traitor review ever.
Yeah, and I think now, thinking back on it, at the time, I was like, wow, amazing Rob, but it really was a flawed move in that he came in with too much certainty. And I think we see that in this episode, and now he's going to have to deal with that. He was really good in the way he went hard at Bob. That was what was required.
Yeah.
But he went 100% when he probably could have just done it maybe 85%.
Yeah, but do you think if he went 85%, like, you know, Bob would have gotten voted out? Probably not. I think he needed to go 100%.
True.
Yeah.
But the conviction that he went was needed. Yeah, unfortunately, to take him out may have cost him his own game. So now he's going to have to really manage it. And we see that in the turret.
That's true.
We see that in the turret with, you know, the other...
With Carolyn and Danielle.
Yeah. So we haven't got all our equipment, so you're going to see me reaching over the screen to press these buttons. But we see in the turret him managing the blowback of the other traitors. And now they're just like, how can we trust you, Rob? How do we manage this? Like, now we're kind of scared of this guy. He's intimidating as a presence, as a game player, because he is so influential, so charismatic, so smart.
And I think he knows that because straight away he says, I'm not going to come for you. I'm never going to come for you unless if you come for me.
Yeah. And
so that's a warning.
That's fair. And that's what we've seen him do in Survivor against, you know, other players. Like, it's better to play with me than to play against me. He says that a lot. And that's his game style. Like, to take out the alpha males, to surround himself with almost like a bunch of people who are willing to follow him. Yeah. Like you know, like a cult of Rob. That's what he's able to do with his personality.
Oh, like fans.
And then he wins, you know, and we're seeing him build that same structure here.
Okay, yeah. Well, this is the first time I'm seeing him play. I've never seen him on Survivor before. So, you know, it's first time, you know, I'm looking at it. For me, I don't think, I know like I've read some comments where people think, okay, like, you know, I mean, it's great that he got out Bob the Drag Queen, but this was a flawed move as well because he just made himself too visible and made himself a target. So I'm thinking of it like, yes, it is. But the fact is that he's coming onto this as a reality star. Yeah. Like, you know, like he probably does not need to win the money. Like I mean, they already paid that amount, you know. So for them as a reality star, it's winning sometimes is not actually the best reward. It's actually, hey, were you the biggest star? Were you the draw card? Did you make the biggest impact? So in terms of attention, yes, he absolutely got it. I think he has already won. Yeah. So both Bob and Rob got the attention that they wanted, and you can just imagine after this, shows are just going to be like, hey, we want to book you for another season, for a comeback. You know, I actually think that's worth more than winning. Yeah, it's different from the UK version where, you know, they are, you know, nail technicians, teachers. These people are reality stars. It's their full-time job. Yeah, it's their full-time job.
Appearing on show after show after show. A lot of them I looked up don't have shows booked for next year. Like a lot of the housewives, their shows have just been cancelled. So they need to be dramatic. Yeah, this is their CV. Yeah. Their resume is, like, when they show their resume, it's them acting crazy on TV. Yeah, it's you know, do they have the drama? You know, can they, like, you know, put up a good show? Yeah. And as we've also seen on Unleashed, you know, I think, you know, with Bob the Drag Queen, he said, you know, like, he was very complimentary of Boston Rob. He was like, listen, he put his A game out, you know, he admires it. You know, and he's like, yeah, as a player to player, that's what you need to do. Yeah, he did. Yeah, I like it. Now he's going to have to do a lot of management, though. He does. So we'll see how he does. So next day at breakfast, before we get into breakfast, let's go through the outfits. Of note, I noticed Tom Sandoval dressing like a Peaky Blinders guy, and Dylan Efron doing his best homage to Boston Rob. What did we think of... Like the Hamptons version? Yeah, the Hamptons junior version of Boston Rob. He had the cap back to front. It was such a cute, like, I'm your biggest fan, Rob. Can I join your crew? And if I wear a hat? And, Boston Rob being like, yeah, it needs to be a Red Sox hat, buddy. It was kind of cute. What do we think of his tribute, his homage to his
it's very
big bro?
cute. I mean, it's just like the country road version, but instead of, because Boston Rob doesn't like all black, but then he's just like, like the white cap, the tan jacket.
Pretty fly for a Hamptons guy.
Yeah.
Who else was dressed well before we move on?
I think so. I think Bob Harper always dresses very well. He's got his little cute Dachshund jumper. So we're like, we've got a dog. So, we're always a big fan of anyone who has like cat or dog outfits.
Chriselle always dresses well.
Chriselle always dresses very well. And I think Sierra. Yeah,
it's always the same three. They're the best dressed every episode almost, right?
She's got this like very preppy, like schoolgirl thing going.
With boots and cute
and
hats.
It looks really cute.
That she doesn't over accessorize. Yeah, cute little outfits.
Carolyn dressed really great.
Carolyn's dressing well, but she comes up like panting and making lies. And Bob Harper and a few others comment, she is all over the place. I at once feel sorry for her because these LA reality stars are so well put together, so polished, so slick socially, so well dressed. They almost never make a faux pas socially unless it's intentional, right? Unless it's for drama. And then you have Carolyn, who has a background, right? Has a history as a real person. She's a real life person. And I feel sorry for her on the one hand because they're kind of looking down on her. But on the other hand, admiring that this is all part of her amazing gameplay to be taken under the radar. So it's like, I hope she gets the last laugh. Because this is masterful acting, if you think. This is like, I wrote down, this is Kaiser Soze type performance, right? Like, where you underestimate the villain and the killer until they unclick the neck and it's like, haha, I didn't, I've been playing this role all along. I hope that's the satisfying ending we get, but I do feel bad every time someone says, look at Carolyn, she's so disheveled. Ugh.
Yeah. Well, do you think she plays into it as well?
For sure. I think she exaggerates it. She acts all like she stumbles in, and that's part of her gameplay.
Yeah,
but she's got to hear the whispers though from the girls.
Yeah, and that I think it still would have heard because I think as we've seen, like most of the like the Bambis don't include her. Most of the time she's kind of like on her own. Yeah. So even though like it's probably her kind of like type, like her stereotype, but it wouldn't feel good. I think. But to each his. I mean, like you turn your kind of like weakness into a strength.
That's exactly what you do.
To each his own.
And this is where we see the first sort of hints that Danielle is starting to get a bit cracked at the table. We're seeing a little bit of tension.
A little bit. I think.
And we're gonna touch on it just a little. Just observe. This is where it starts. Where I noticed a little bit of weirdness from her.
Yeah, but we didn't realize like exactly how deep that's gonna go until like later in the show.
Yeah. What else do we notice? So, Robin gets killed.
Yes, Robin gets killed.
The leader of the housewives, I guess you could say. Good move, bad move, ambivalent, doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think so. I think, they were kind of like talking about it in the tower.
This is Rob's move, clearly.
This is Rob's move. I think the others had maybe wanted Gabby. So I feel like kind of like outspoken women, like, they tend to get...
Yeah.
like murdered or banished very quickly. Like we saw that with Dorinda. Yeah. She was very outspoken. And Robin as well. And I do feel like maybe, there seems to be a little bit of a trend. Not that it's like a bad or good thing, but it's just, because they can be intimidating, and you kind of like, if I'm Boston Rob, we see like he gets along with quite well with like the other girls, like the Bambis. But say with someone like Robin, you kind of don't really want to go up against that.
That's his MO. He never really worked much with Sandra, he a little bit, but or Parvati. He surrounds himself with, compliant people. And he is running the show right now. Robin was a big voice, a big character, a leader of the housewives. I can see why they got rid of her.
Yeah.
And I can see why he wanted to keep Sam, because Sam is currently, groupie number 2 for Rob's cult. And he's slowly building that cult. He needs Sam because Sam is just like, all over, doing what he says basically. But
it's a good move for him.
I just think that maybe Rob could have laid back a little bit, let the other two have this one to choose who they want, to give them agency, give them back power, so that they don't feel too threatened by him. I just would have thought that he would have liked to have stepped back a bit after such a big round table.
Yeah.
To try and earn back a bit of trust. Because
Right.
after that round table, you got to be thinking, oh, did I do too much? I need these two back on side, Carolyn and Danielle. How can I make them happy? I'm going to give them this kill.
Yeah,
Even
fair
if I'm,
enough.
you know, so I feel like maybe it might be a misplay, but you never know what's going to happen
You
in this
never
game
know,
until
yeah.
it's too late or down
Yeah.
the road. You
And
know?
again, I think with me as well, I thought that's what I would have done.
Yeah.
But then again, Boston Rob is not me or you.
No.
And maybe like, that's
It's a
why he
different-
wins Survivor. Like, like maybe we're just never ever gonna do.
Yeah, he's a different breed.
Yeah, he's a different breed. Yeah, I mean, I was surprised he went for Bob so quickly, but
Yeah.
then again, he's just different.
And then we see, Wes and Rob, and no, before that we see Nikki and Gabby, and I'm going to quote this: "They think we're dumb, and we're so smart. Yeah, we are so smart." I think this is so funny. What do we think of this? Nikki and Gabby, I think it's very memeable at least.
Yeah, it
the
is very
Bambies,
memeable.
We are so smart, and they're so funny.
I know, they are very funny, yeah. I mean, like, whether it's like the downfalls or the Bambies, we don't know. I guess, we'll go ahead.
But the blowback from last night further is obviously after the round table, Wes had gone around saying, how do you know someone is 100% a traitor? And this speaks to Rob's over certainty. Yesterday that I talked was a flaw. I mean, before that I had said it was a flaw. Wes picked up on it, and the only way you would 100% know that you're a traitor and someone else is a traitor is if you are a traitor. And so we hear the other people going around whispering and saying, yeah, your name's going out, Rob. And Rob is just like a gangster, just walks straight up to Wes and says, like, I need to handle this. Are you saying my name? And Wes is backtracking like, no, I didn't say your name. I didn't say your name. This is the intimidation and the power that Rob has. And
Yeah, I
This
think
is interesting.
so. I think it's interesting because, I mean, I guess Wes and Rob, they both know, I think they both of them know that, you're kind of like putting out my name, but Wes is still kind of going, well, not really. So...
Yeah, I just think Rob is kind of strong-arming here rather than being subtle. You know what I mean? But that's his style.
That's his style, yeah. To be honest, I think maybe Wes could have actually maybe been more
Slick, maybe.
forthright
really?
about it.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Maybe just say, like, dude, I did say it, because now he looks sus himself, right? And
Like, would it not have been better for him to just like, I guess I did,
Yeah, I
and
did
because
say your
I do
name.
have like, suspicions about it.
like what you said was incredible, dude. Like,
Yeah.
please tell me how you came to that conclusion, because only a traitor would know 100% with certainty that you had said it. Help me understand it. I'll ride with you. Yeah, I get ya. But I guess he sort of knows Rob's a traitor, and he just wants to ride with him a little bit longer. And,
and not get murdered.
killed.
I think so.
He's just backtracking, but Rob could see straight through it. That's what Rob does, man. Rob picks up liars.
Okay. How do you feel about the fact that, Danielle is looking for like a +1?
This is crazy. I don't know what Danielle is thinking. So she obviously doesn't trust Rob. Her strat is to get rid of Rob, but rather than getting rid of Rob with Carolyn, to get rid of Carolyn, replace her with another traitor, and then get rid of Rob. This is just like so convoluted, complicated, difficult to pull off that I just don't see how she's going to manage this. And clearly we see this episode, her falling under the strain of so much mental gymnastics to do this.
Yeah, she's kind of like going about it in a super roundabout way. I mean, not even realizing... Well, I mean, okay, so who do you think she could have picked, as a +1, firstly? Because obviously, like, Bob the drag queen is gone. Who do you think... Who is she, like, kind of, like, closest that she can, in the house that she can actually work with?
Honestly, Dylan. No, not Dylan. Derek from Big Brother.
Yeah.
Because he's a fellow Big Brother player. They have a history. They have a relationship. He's a guy who's also a gamer that can maybe feel like he can stand up a little bit to Rob.
Yeah, so maybe like maybe it might be harder if it's like women and women like
Yeah,
but
maybe. I don't know, but I just feel like a lot of the women are a little bit like following Rob's lead after what he did. A lot of them are grouping up and are just, especially the Bambis and the housewives, are sort of like in awe of what he, like they're saying stuff like, you're a great game player. They're confiding in him. They're asking for advice. I wouldn't be surprised if they're asking him for marital advice.
Yeah.
He's got so much influence right now that it's hard to pick anyone. So you have to pick someone that is actually already skeptical of him to go against him.
Yeah, and there's some that you just cannot pick because they just won't work. Like say Tom or Ivar, they're just not that kind of type that would just go up against him. You actually do need someone who is strong enough.
Yeah, but I just don't know if this is the right move. I
don't think it's the right move. I mean, to be honest, I was surprised that she thought of that.
Yeah, it maybe. If you want, you can plant a few seeds and encourage the already line of thinking that, only a traitor would know a traitor, and just sit back. But to try and do it through getting rid of Carolyn, recruiting, and then going at Rob is just nutso to me.
Yeah.
There's already a plan in place and a framework in place for you to get rid of Rob, which is being set up by Wes. Go to Wes, go to Ivar, talk to them. Confirm their suspicions and say, you're on the right track. We can't let this go. We have to follow this train of thinking. But to reset and to start your own game plan from here with getting rid of Carolyn, first of all, no one's suspecting Carolyn. You cannot go at Carolyn at this stage. You're just never going to get the numbers. So this is already flawed, in my opinion.
I think so.
So Danielle versus Carolyn, the battle we never thought we'd see, but it's up and coming.
Oh, you didn't think that? I kind of think that they would have a... Yeah, I did, because I think in the beginning, they don't get along, like we've said. They're actually very opposite.
Until Rob, before Rob got there, it wasn't pretty.
It wasn't pretty. I think I felt like Carolyn, because Danielle was close with Bob, so I think they kind of were the two that were leading the charge on who to murder, and Carolyn kind of felt like no one ever listens to her. They are very different.
Yeah, you're right.
And they're just not going to get along. Yeah. So I felt like this was kind of like, it was always going to happen.
Okay. We get to the challenge, and there's some funny stuff that happens. Rob rides with the Bambis, and he drops Nikki's name to Nikki about Bob the Drag Queen, saying, Bob the Drag... He's such a shit stirrer, Rob. Golly, dude.
And I think this is where you actually made that observation, about like how Rob, people, they can like kind of like decide who they want to sit with in the car. Okay, and then but you also have to ride with the same people on the way back. So if you were Rob and you're choosing to like go in a car with the Bambis, so you see that's where he's like showing like this is where I'm going to do my sphere of influence.
Exactly. Yeah, it shows his intentionality in his gameplay, because he's not sitting with the bros or the boys. He's sitting intentionally with a very strong, unified group of women who have always voted together, and he is like, okay, if I can get these 3 women to vote with me on these moves, that's a force. That's a foursome. That's powerful, and so he's always thinking gameplay. Sometimes I think he thinks gameplay too much, and he could just socialize and be just, I love what you're wearing today, Chishelle. You know what I mean? Which I think was a great strength in Bob's.
That's not Boston Rob, that's Bob Harper.
That's Bob Harper,
Okay, so we get to the challenge in the church. And okay, so firstly, I just want to say I think this is a really good challenge. Visually, it's very striking, having all those golden urns, with like words on them. And like riddles. I mean, we all love riddles.
He loves riddles. How funny is Tom Sandoval? He goes, I'm into riddles. I've read my Dan Brown, my Harry Potter. In fact, Voldemort's name was Tom Riddle. My name's Tom. I'm going to be Tom Riddle. The way he connects these ideas is so funny. That's his all-time great quote. Good on you, Tom Sandoval. You are a gem.
Yeah.
There's some funny moments. So... but one thing we have to refer to our notes. We haven't got all of our stuff that we normally have back at our studios, but one thing that we got to get to is Danielle. But before that, okay, we didn't get to play along with this game, which I didn't like. They just showed the first couple of riddles, and then it was just, a quick montage of people cracking urns and whatnot, but we didn't get to see all the riddles. Yo, Peacock, show us the riddles. People like to play along
I
and guess
know,
along.
I know.
That's part of the fun of these games, you know,
Yeah.
interaction between the audience and the show. If you're not going to show these things, then, you know, you're not giving us any investment, any involvement, any interaction. And a real shame and a missed opportunity.
Yeah, I have to say, I kind of like, oh, you know, I would have really liked if they actually showed all the riddles.
Yeah, show it.
Yeah, but perhaps maybe, you know, there was just too much drama with Danielle.
With
That they
Danielle.
did not have the time to do it.
Danielle. That's all we can talk about when it comes to this challenge.
Yeah, that was just super weird. Okay, so what happens is Danielle got a riddle right. You know, she picks Dolores. So everyone has picked themselves so far, you know. So you can pick yourself, put yourself on a signboard, and the last two remaining on the signboard gets to win a shoe. So Danielle is the only person that picks someone else twice.
Super weird. Okay. She does... Okay, I wrote down the weird steps that Danielle does, okay. She wins. She picks up Robin's portrait, holds it
Dolores,
holds it up above her heart, smiles at her and says, oh, you know, I'm not going to let this happen tonight to you. I love you, Dolores. You're my girl. I got you. Right? Makes a big speech about I'm sick of them picking on you, which is just weird, okay? Then she
has to pick between Tom and Derek.
She puts between Tom and Derek. And Derek, who she's known for 20 years, she takes off.
Yeah.
So she chooses a stranger over someone she's known for 20 years. She could have chose, you know, Dolores and Derek, but instead she chooses Tom Sandoval over that, which is just...
Yeah, and I think both Derek and Tom were shocked.
It was like, how, why, how? So you said this to me, it was selfless, but at the same time petty, because then she says, this is for you not giving me the shield the other day. So she's at once trying to be like noble by saving Dolores, but at the same time showing herself to be petty and petulant.
showing that this actually is a very self-serving move.
Yeah, so it doesn't work out at all for herself.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those... Well, firstly, you know, like if you are picking someone else, then you are thinking that you are safe.
Yes, yeah.
You know, and it's like, well, why would you think that you are safe?
Why would you think yourself and you know, Dolores even asks, aren't you afraid of being murdered?
Yeah.
And then we see Danielle like malfunction. Okay, this reminded me of like, you know, when you have you're on a computer and you have too many web browsers open, right? And you've got like, you know, Hotmail, Gmail, ESPN, YouTube, and you've just forgotten how many browsers you've got open, and then suddenly the web browser crashes and says you have to restart because you're trying to do too much. That's you, Danielle. You got too many browsers open, and and you can see her brain just shutting down.
Yeah, she does.
And just being overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And physically, she's shaking. She's having convulsions.
Yeah.
Oh, this was hard to watch.
It was really hard, you know, because I think she seems to be she's holding a lot of tension.
Yeah.
And I think it just got overwhelming, and you see her actually starting to tear up.
Yeah.
And in which case, I think Dolores is like, hey, like, you know, like, don't do this right now because you're starting to cry. And Danielle's like, I don't want to accept this, you know, because... Yeah, it's strange because, you know, it's like, I'm sure Dolores probably feels like guilty. Oh my God, like, you know, I didn't ask for you to save me. You don't have to save me, but now you're making me feel bad for you saving me when I didn't ask for it.
By doing this whole crying show.
And I'm like not sure if she's like real crying or fake crying because we know that she can cry on demand.
And we see her and Dolores and Derek clock onto this and go, this is the game. If you feel bad, don't do it. Like, don't do it and then stand there and cry in front of everyone. We see the whole cast just go, what are you doing? This is strange.
Yeah. Well, why do you think like she did that? Do you think it was kind of like because she had to vote, you know, like Bob the drag queen like last night? Because it's a very strange reaction.
I think she wanted to put up a selfless move. She wanted to try and win people's faith, perception as a faithful by being selfless, but she forgot in the moment that a true faithful would be selfish. And then, you know, she got caught in this paranoid moment and said, I would be paranoid, but she forgot that true paranoia, you want to preserve yourself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you're actually paranoid, you don't, and you think people are coming for you, and this reflects itself later in the car, which we're going to talk about. You don't say, oh, I'm going to, you know, when you're afraid for yourself, I'm going to get murdered. You don't then go to someone else and say, I'm going to save you. You become paranoid that people are coming for you.
Yeah, I think so.
I didn't know if I worded that right, but I think you worded this really well when we were making notes. So she said, because I'm not on today, I don't think I'm going to get killed. So I'm going to take a shot at Carolyn. But if you really think that you're not on today, you're paranoid that people are coming for you.
Yeah.
Not that you're going to be safe.
Yeah.
Okay? Look, I think it's what you said. She had an intention of trying to set herself up as a faithful. She got caught in the act of forgetting that she was in danger and being mindful that she would be in danger. And then her reaction was to go into convulsions mode. I actually think this is a combination of performance and actual terror.
Anxiety? Yeah. She seemed like she was really malfunctioning there. I mean, she was pretty much shaking the whole... Like, I think she was even shaking at the round table. Like, you know, like
even
she
when
seemed like she was... Even when, I think, like, you know, before the round table where they were, like, kind of, like, discussing, she seemed like she was actually shaking the whole time. So I'm not sure if she's kind of having a little bit of, like, a mini breakdown. In which case, it would... I do feel for her, you know, and I'm not sure if it's because, you know, she had to perform that really hard task of voting... Bob the drag queen, and she felt so much guilt about it that perhaps the only way to overcome that and to, you know, like not be like, oh, I'm a bad person, and to you kind of like you know, sometimes when you do something you feel very guilty and you feel like you have to overcompensate, you have to do something to make it right, to make yourself believe that you're not a bad person, but then it comes across as overcompensating.
I'm trying to think of personal occasions. Oh gosh, I overplayed it, didn't I? Okay. Yeah, you're right. And I think she is effing up so badly right now, and I feel bad for her because she had played a pretty decent game, a little bit over the top at stages, but now it is effing up.
Yeah, like it's coming across as a very, very bad game.
Bad performance, bad television. It's hard to watch. You just don't like to see it. And then she gets in the car with like Wes, Ivar, and Dylan, and she says, you know who it is? Carolyn. What the heck are you doing? To quote Uncle, what's his name? Uncle, right? Anyway, the comedian. What are you doing? Okay, this is just bad gameplay, man. Like, you can't come at Carolyn at all. You know, Carolyn is impenetrable right now, untouchable right now.
Yeah, and I think maybe, I feel like she's kind of trying to do, because like Rob had done the same thing to Boston, I'm getting the names mixed up. Boston Rob had just come for Bob the drag queen just the previous night, and maybe she felt like, oh, she's taking a leaf from his book, and she's thinking, okay, you know, if I have to get out Carolyn, I got to do this like, you know, straight away, the way that Boston Rob did. I just don't know if it's going to fly because she didn't provide evidence. I think she just accused Carolyn, but there wasn't actually really evidence.
The way you do it is just more subtly and just plant the seed. Like, hey, you know, we haven't... And almost put out feelers. You don't want to go too hard because that looks traitorous. And she looks like a traitor. You just put out a little feeler like... You know, when you're with a friend and you're asking them how they feel about a third friend, you don't just go, hey, how do you feel about Carolyn? You say, you know, yeah, Carolyn's okay. What did you guys get along? You know, has anyone ever looked at that? You know, do we need to suspect her? Oh, you think she's faithful? Okay, cool. Yeah,
let's just leave it. I
kind of do too. Yeah, and agree with them and leave on peaceful terms. You don't just go so hard where it's like, trust me, she got to the final of Survivor. Trust me, I know she's a traitor. I know it. Because Dylan are just like,
oh yeah, I don't agree with you, you know, but thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you for bringing it up. But now in their heads, after Danielle's previous performance, the sus is all on Danielle. All over her. And she even goes to Brittany, who is like her oldest associate, and she's like, Brittany's like, she's not capable of being a traitor.
I think so.
And so no one believes Danielle. I don't know what she gained out of all this work. It's not looking good. She's definitely in trouble, I think.
I think she's in trouble. Yeah, probably.
Maybe now or later, but she's in trouble. I think it's just really clumsy. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I think so. Okay, so now shall we move on to the round table?
Yeah, we're at the round table.
So let's go to the round table. So I think this is very interesting that Ivor actually started off the session. He was quite actually forthright about it. Okay, so there's actually 3 names floating out there: Nikki, Ciara, and Rob. And I think this is just giving everyone a chance, not accusing anyone, but just giving everyone a chance to actually put up a defense. And it feels like he's being like quite the gentleman about it.
I think it's very smart too, because it makes him look like a diplomat, a leader, you know, the manager of the group, and it also takes the attention off him, you know, because he's just clearly put out 3 names. We're going to talk about these 3 people, and none of them are me. You know, I think it's very intentional, because it was only a few episodes ago that people were like, it's Ivor.
Yeah.
You know, he's a lord. Like, let's get rid of the rich guy, you know, and he was just not one of the guys. Now he seems like he's fit into the group really well. But yeah, Rob, Nikki, and Ciara, it's funny that Danielle's name is not there. We had a chat about this.
Yeah, so because I was kind of like wondering why isn't Danielle's name brought up, and for me, I felt like there was still unresolved things with Nikki and Ciara.
Yeah.
So I think like with Danielle's thing, I think people are starting to get a little bit sus on her because they feel like she's playing a bad game. But because it's still very recent, it just happened in the last few hours, I think people need a little bit of time to process it, to talk about it, to see if everyone's kind of like going in the same direction. And then it might probably come up for the next, you know, the next day.
Yeah.
You know, but then there was still a lot of questions about Nikki and Ciara. So that's kind of like the forefront thing that needs to get resolved before they can move on to Danielle. It's like, let's take care of A first, and then we'll talk about B later.
True. Because if we go back just an episode, when just before Bob was getting kicked out and Rob went at him, Ciara and Nikki were going head to head. They were at each other's throats. And then Rob interjects and says, guys, this is what the traitors are doing. They're making us fight amongst ourselves, guys. And now that Bob's gone, we've gone right back to that conflict. Yeah. And it's these 2 ladies. And this is kind of hard to watch because obviously both are faithful. And I feel like it's just... I actually think both of them obviously know they're faithful and actually think the other is a faithful deep down, because only a couple of episodes ago they were sitting at the sofa together saying we've been made to go at each other as women. And it's just the traitors using this energy and this paranoia of us to go at each other. And this...
Well, how do you think, like, you know, from that it moves on to this though, where they actually start accusing each other of being faithful?
Of a traitor.
A traitor, sorry.
Yeah. I think this is what the traitors were doing all day in the background, saying, look, we need to look at the coffin situation. Which is just a flawed assumption from the very beginning. Whoever put out this assumption that a traitor has to be in the coffins, since when? Why is that an assumption? Why do we assume that a traitor would put themselves into a 33% chance of dying or getting caught just to look faithful? These aren't good odds. And it's a flawed assumption. Yeah. It's flawed thinking. And that is the assumption everyone's going from. And it's forced these 2 against each other. And yeah.
It wasn't pretty. I think I have to admit, I mean, like, I think it's hard to see them kind of like accuse each other, and also even worse when I think Trishelle kind of like, you know, spoke up about Nikki. Like I could see like she feels really bad, you know, because as she said, you know, like, oh, Nikki's like my best friend in the game. And again, okay, so sometimes I'm like, oh my god, like the term best friend is just thrown around a little bit too loosely around these you know, like these reality stars, because I mean, how can you be best friends with someone? You should
only have one best friend, people. It's like being the goat. There can only be one greatest of all time. You can't have 50 goats. Okay,
and especially for someone you've only known for like a few days.
Yeah.
Anyway, so but still, like, you know, I felt like the emotion that Trisha, like, she actually feels really bad, like, you know, outing Nikki, and that probably was the thing that, you know, nailed her coffin. Yeah. Nailed the nail in her coffin. Yeah.
For sure. And it's interesting how Rob plays this on both ends, because Trishelle goes to Rob beforehand to ask for his opinion, and he totally validates this suspicion. Like, yeah, you know, you're not wrong. Are you going to bring it up at the table? Which prompts Trishelle to go. And then when they go to vote, Rob actually doubles down and says, Trishelle skewed my thinking here. And the word skewed is very interesting. This is how devious Rob and good he is. Because he doesn't say, oh, you know, I'm supporting Trishelle's thinking here. He doesn't say, Trishelle convinced me.
Yeah.
He says, Trishelle skewed. The word skew means to deform, distort, or, you know, to mangle in a way that is unnatural.
Like a negative influence, rather than like, because he could have said, okay, I actually believe Trishelle, and, you know, like what she says makes sense, you know, I'm going to go with her. But he used the term skewed. And then so, you know, if,
it's a
you know,
outside,
word. Yeah, a negative word. Like, you know, outside of the game, you know, when he sees Nikki, he can be like, hey, I actually have a very neutral stance on this. But because of what Trishelle said, it kind of like got skewed in that direction.
Yeah.
In which case, well, it's kind of Trishelle's fault.
Yeah. And I think that's what kills Nikki, because once you have your closest ally being sus on you and saying, I don't trust you 100%, that's enough for everybody due to the laws of self-preservation to vote you out. Because you're just at that point looking for someone to gang up on, and that was enough to turn the room. But also, I gotta say, Ciara was the better speaker at the table. She laid on thick all these behavioural points. She laid out a lot of things in a very cool, calm manner. They weren't great points, but at least they were consistent. She did it, you know, she laid out enough ammunition to give herself more weight than Ciara. And Nikki. And Nikki was just left defending herself.
I think so. I think Ciara definitely made the better argument. So in which case, I do feel like sometimes with this, it's almost like you have to be a very good debater, very good at arguing, or very good at also being, you know, presenting like an offense but also defense case.
Without getting emotional too.
Yeah, if you really want to, like, you know, win the Traitors, you have to be very good at speaking.
Yeah, you do. You have to be a great orator, debater, in and outside of the round table. It's not like... It's like Survivor a little bit at the final tribal. You have to be a good speaker to close the deal, right?
Or like Leanne, you know, Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Sorry, we couldn't
That's
help
the one
it.
exception.
Yeah.
And Bobby's spot on. Bob Harper says, what a badass move it would be if Rob came in as a traitor and just kills Bob, and he's actually 100% right, and Rob has to actually unflatter himself and go, yeah, that would be great, but that's not what happened. After that, it's almost a unanimous decision, and Nikki is banished.
Okay, so unanimous except for Dylan, because he actually put Gabby.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, so that was interesting. That was weird. Okay, you thought it was weird. I just thought it was interesting.
I think it was just a throwaway vote, but I don't know why he would think it's Gabby. But almost unanimous. Nikki goes home. What do we think of Nikki's game?
Nikki's game, to be honest, I think it's okay. I don't know if there was anything that I can think of that she did that was
memorable.
Amazing, memorable. Yeah. Like I think she's actually seems like a very nice person. I think, to be honest, I felt like I didn't know who she was. All I saw was that I think she's like a pro wrestler. So I actually was kind of surprised at her character, because she actually maybe seems almost a little bit introverted.
So we've got someone at the door. Later, please.
Hi. Okay, later.
Sorry for the interruption.
That's my dad. Staying at our parents' house.
And then, funny, after the round table, we see this Tom go up to Trishelle and say, I know you don't like me, but what you did was really brave. I get the feeling Tom opens a lot of conversations with, I know you don't like me. The poor guy. He's my favourite character right now on the show.
He's very funny. I can see why, he goes onto like reality shows.
Yeah. So we leave the round table, and everyone's drinking and so on, and chatting, and Dylan tells Carolyn about Danielle. This is drama waiting to happen.
Yeah, this is, I think, and I think we can also see as well, like, from the so there's like a preview of like the next episode as well. It seems like Carolyn and Danielle, they are going full force at each other. And I guess this is where, maybe Danielle like he says, like she's not playing a great game.
Yeah.
So I think she hasn't actually come up with the right evidence to support her accusation, and it seems like it's going to backfire on her.
Another scene that we had that I want to talk about, it's a bit out of order, but it was really tough to see all these ladies outside the round table consoling each other, crying, getting upset about... This was tough to watch. This was very emotional, and what do we feel about this? This is when they're all afterwards saying, look, they're turning us against each other, we're fighting amongst ourselves, the guilt of this emotional turmoil. We're seeing Trishelle, we're seeing Dolores, Ciara, Gabby, all of them just in tears, having gotten rid of Nikki, who was a faithful, and this just sucks. This was
I think so.
Bob is there.
Yeah, I think with this one, I kind of feel, I think it's really hard. I feel like, like female friendships, I think we're all we've all watched Sex and the City, where we're like, oh my god, like female friendship can be this amazing thing that uplifts all of us if we're in sync. But we also know and sometimes it seems like it's like the very strong foundation of like our social lives. We all know that women live longer, when we have like a strong circle. But what also happens is when these kinds of like friendships get kind of like broken up, if the values are not the same, if one accuses the other of something, they can actually also break up very easily, and it's actually very traumatizing for a lot of women. And I think I feel like, I had a little bit of a tear, when I saw this as well. I think it's hard because, like, as a woman, I think you feel bad if you're not supportive of your friend. But, you are not always going to agree.
Especially in a game environment like this, where you're pitted against each other. This was tough to watch, and this was at once very... good to see them support each other after such a awful moment, but tough that they were put into that situation in the first place. So I completely agree with what you just said, and
it's tough, because you kind of like conditioned that you have to like always support each other, and it can very much feel like a betrayal when you don't actually agree.
And so that pretty much brings up the wrap of the episode. I guess we look forward to episode 6, which will be Carolyn v. Danielle, pretty much, right? This is going to be nuts. This is going to be the battle that we've been waiting for. Carolyn is perceived as a real favourite in this show, but I look forward to seeing how she's going to perform at the round table. I need to see how she performs at the round table to get a real perception and insight as to how good a player she really is. So I'm looking forward to this, because if she can defend herself well at this round table... There's no stopping us.
Do you think she can defend herself well? What do you think she's going to be like? Let's just.
She's going to be bombastic. She's going to be emotional. She's going to be extra. But she's very articulate.
Yeah.
Don't underestimate. She's a counselor, and I've seen her a little bit. On Survivor. She can hold her own. She can stick up. She's a tough lady.
I'm sure.
She's been through a lot, and people underestimate her at their own peril.
Yeah.
So I think Danielle doesn't know the force that she's going up against. Carolyn is no walkover. She may not be able to walk in high heels upstairs, but she can hold her own, and she's a fighter. So I'm looking forward to her performing at that round table next episode. I think that'll give us a real gauge about how far she can go. Other than that, I think we might wrap it up there. What else do we need to talk about?
No, I think that's it. So, guys, we just want to say thank you. So, again, we are in Singapore, so there's probably going to be, a few interruptions,
all over the place today.
Yeah, a little bit. And, that's okay.
That's okay.
We're having a good time, So, for anyone out there who's, Asian or something, we'll have a great, happy Chinese New Year. And this is a wrap-up, and we just want to thank you for listening to the show. This is the Recreate Reality Podcast by Michael and Teresa. You can find us on Recreate on TikTok and Instagram. That's WRECK.CREATE, where you can watch funny short clips of what we talked about. If you like what you hear, be sure to like and subscribe to our pod. It really helps us a big deal. We are extremely grateful for any support you give. We'll be back shortly with the next episode, so stay tuned.
See you guys. Bye.